Thank you, Chief Justice Deware, for being here with us at the CIAJ Access to Justice Summit at the University of New Brunswick. What efforts have already been taken with regards to digital transformation within the justice system of New Brunswick, and what have the reactions been of all of the stakeholders?
Well, great question. Thank you, Kyle. I think everything we've done, quite honestly, is a result of the pandemic, and I think the pandemic probably pushed us about 10 years forward. We wouldn't be where we are today if that didn't happen, so that's, I guess, a positive of that experience. And probably the biggest thing that's happened over the course of the last 3.5 years, is now we really do a lot of virtual appearances, and that was virtually, pardon the pun, unknown, prior to that time. And I think our concept of justice has shifted as well. I think we realize now that you don't necessarily have to have a courthouse or even a courtroom. Justice is not about bricks and mortar. It's about the ability to provide a response to legal problems that people are experiencing in their lives. And I think we've gotten creative on how to do that. So, of course, initially the big problem was people just couldn't move, and lawyers couldn't travel, or experts couldn't come to the province, or we had parties that were away. And the fact that we could do court virtually meant that those matters could continue to proceed, which otherwise would have simply been adjourned or would have had to wait. And that was transformative. And along with that, we realized quickly, well, there's a whole bunch of kind of regular things that we can do, such as bail hearings and bail reviews. We can now do those virtually. We don't have to bring all the individuals into the courthouse, which is great. It's a huge savings of time and resources, and those matters were all able to proceed. Little things like, situations where you might have a dispute in a family case, and one parent is out west and one parent's here. Well, it's a pretty onerous, you forget the pandemic, it's pretty onerous to have to travel to New Brunswick for a 30-minute court case or for a motion. So now we can accommodate those things, and we can hear from someone who's away, and we can hear from an expert witness that does not have to travel from Toronto or Montreal or California, wherever it might be, which of course is a huge savings to the parties, not to mention it allows us to keep things moving. It's not a panacea. It doesn't work for everything all the time. It's not great. Anything that requires credibility findings, that you really need to see people and assess their testimony, that's not great. It doesn't work for jury trials. So it's not our solution to every problem, but it certainly has provided solutions for a lot of problems. And one of the challenges we have at the Court of King's Bench in New Brunswick is we have 8 judicial districts, which of course offer services of every nature to everyone in that judicial district. But frequently we only have one judge there, and that judge may be away or doing other things. And when there's urgent matters, virtual technology allows us to have the lawyers, the parties, wherever it may be, in the courtroom, perhaps in Campbellton if Justice Landry is away or sitting in another area, and I can have a judge from St. John hear that matter. So that's huge, and it allows us to be a lot more flexible. It allows us to respond to emergencies better. People have responded to it understandably very well. If you don't have to get on a plane and travel, for hours and hours, because you can just do a little Teams link and appear in court, it's great. So I think the response has been overly positive. I think the lawyers were embraced the technology immediately. I think their only complaint is probably that we don't do it more often. And people, citizens, seem to have responded to it very well. And the judges, quite frankly, they're used to it now. They don't mind it. Again, we're careful what we use it for. It's not great for everything, but it really does allow us to do a lot more than we did before. The other thing, which is, I think, really is our next really big barrier that we have to cross over is digital filing, digital record keeping. During, again, the pandemic, we allowed people to email their pleadings and email things into the court. but it's not really an e-filing or a digital system, because really once the pleading arrived at the clerk's office, then the staff would have to print it. So all we were really doing is offering the service of emailing, but and we didn't have the system behind that to save it, to store it, to ensure the integrity of those documents. So that, but people very much appreciated that. Lawyers, self-represented litigants, it worked well. But it's not sustainable because it's simply too much work for the clerk's office, and again, we don't have the systems to manage it. Now we allow people to file their pretrial briefs digitally. Very, very small piece of the puzzle, but it does provide mostly lawyers the ability to file their briefs via email. And for the judges, it's great because we have all the materials available digitally. We don't have to truck around literally boxes and boxes. So again, because of the unique nature of our court, if we had digital filing, it would be huge, because it would be so much easier to have judges in different areas do cases, which now it's difficult, because even if someone's available and we have a matter in another judicial district in a day or two and I don't have a judge, physically, we either physically have to get a file to them, or you have to take someone out of the clerk's office and have them scan what could be volumes and volumes of documents for hours, which that's fine for that file, but then of course they're not attending to their usual tasks. So that doesn't work. So I foresee a world where we do have digital filing, where everything is searchable and available online, and that will really, really increase our flexibility. And I think the response to that's positive. The negative response I hear now is, why can't we do it? Why can't we do more? And it's certainly not because we don't want to. It's simply and in fairness to the province, it's a big job to undertake the creation of that digital system. It's not inexpensive. They've got to tackle that. But we are just can't wait. We are willing and ready to go as soon as they do. And I think that with the virtual appearances is going to provide us flexibility that was unheard of 4 years ago.
Well, thank you very much for your answer. That's very insightful.
My pleasure.